This episode is brought to you by Bubs Naturals. Bubs Naturals is a tribute to former Navy SEAL Glenn Bub Darty, a national hero who laid down his life saving Americans in Benghazi, Libya. Glenn was a best friend to hundreds, people of all walks of life, from ski bums to outdoor enthusiasts, hippies, SEALs, fitness fanatics, and anyone and everyone in between. Glenn's call sign in the Navy was Bub. He stood for self-improvement and was always looking to help others, and that same DNA is woven into the Bubs brand. They donate 10% of all of their profits to charity in Glenn's honor, starting with the Glenn Darty Memorial Foundation. Now, we were lucky enough to have Bubs come in as a partner at our Power Monkey camp, and they were an absolute hit with all the coaches, campers, and staff. We were lucky enough to have a variety of their products to test out, from their collagen protein to their brew coffee, as well as their hydrate or die electrolytes. Now, I was an absolute fan of the Hydrate or Die. We are on our feet at camp, constantly teaching, training, learning, playing for an entire week, and I needed something to be able to get me through those days, and the Hydrate or Die was what allowed me to do so, all the way to that last pickleball game at the end of each night. And if you would like to try out some of their product, please be sure to head over to bubsnaturals.com and use the code POWERMONKEY, all one word, all caps, for 20% off.
Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world of fitness about what they do. Today, we are welcoming CrossFit OG Annie Sakamoto onto the show to discuss the announcement of Open Workout 24.2. Last week, Annie was on the live stream for CrossFit, going over strategy and tips for those watching 24.1. This week, we have the privilege of having her with us to provide insight into how you, the everyday athlete, should look at tackling 24.2. Enjoy. Hey, Power Monkey fam, this is Mike Service. I am taking over today as Dave Durante is going to be out of the office, and we have a special guest to talk to this week for week 2 of the 2024 CrossFit Open, Annie Sakamoto. How are you doing, girl?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, you guys.
We are very excited to have you on the podcast, especially after week 1 watching you. So what's it feel like watching the announcement from home this week?
I'm still sweating. Like it's so funny because obviously, I get nervous before the announcement. You get like kind of the cold sweat. And then it's like, oh, well, this week is just from home. It should be fine. But there's something about the open that just kind of elicits that cold sweat for me.
It's got an aura, and this one, coming from me as a cardio warrior myself, it's a big one. So 20 minutes, that already had me shaking. And then looking at it, for those of you that maybe haven't seen it yet, probably by the time we go live, most of our listeners will have seen the 300-meter row, then 10 deadlifts, 135, 185, and 50 double unders. Am I right with that, Jordan?
125, 185.
My bad. 125, 185. So, Annie, we want to keep this podcast a little less centered on the elites and a little more centered on like the everyday CrossFitter. So
Love it.
I think you're a good person for us to talk to, being a gym owner, being a head coach. And I'm curious, just on this one, what's some very overarching advice that you would offer to your gym members that maybe would be something we would offer to our listeners?
I mean, first of all, I love the first 2 weeks of the open because I feel like both workouts have been very accessible for your general population gym goers. And I think that similar to last week, this one is one where a lot of people are going to be able to go RX. And I think that if 125-pound deadlift is something that you might have to carefully rep out, but that you can. And if you can do double unders, then in my opinion, for a lot of those people, you should try to do this workout RX. I just love that the last 2 weeks have been very attainable. I think one of the best things about the open is that we kind of push ourselves to do things that maybe we wouldn't in an everyday class. And so I like this workout for that reason, for sure. Even if the double unders are sets of 5 or you're kind of piecing away at them, that's not the advice I would give somebody maybe on just a regular WOD at the gym. But for something like the open, I really do think that if you can tackle this workout RX, you should really give it a shot. And then it would be, just being very thoughtful on both the deadlift, obviously, is the most important. And then I liked what Miranda, or one of the either Miranda or Pat was saying about the double unders, or maybe it was whoever gave the advice in the beginning, is that maybe having planned rests on those double unders is going to be a good idea. Not waiting for the trip to happen, but maybe, purposefully on the early rounds, breaking up those double unders, knowing that the trips are going to end up happening. And then just rowing at a pace that you can get off and kind of grab the barbell and get set and start going. So I think, if you're on the rower, even if you row at a slower pace, but that allows you to get off and start moving on that barbell, that's huge. If you row so fast or too fast for your own capacity that you're going to need 10 to 15 seconds to set up for that deadlift, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think that you brought up something that Jordan and I were talking about before we started, and it was the double unders. So even the elite guys had some trip ups when we were watching them. So if they're tripping up and somebody is not incredibly comfortable with double unders, choosing attainable sets under fatigue is important. And from my perspective as a coach, I do like when the open workouts offer an opportunity for coaches and members to just figure out where you are for a specific workout. So like you said, this is an opportunity, for a lot of our listeners to be able to RX, but at the same time, their RX might look like a completely different workout than what we just saw. So it might be, understanding, yeah, this is a pretty heavy deadlift. Like I'm going to be able to do sets of 3, but need a little breather on it. And my double unders, okay, I've done 50 unbroken one time. So like I'm going to go into something that I know I can hit every time. And then I know I'm going to have some breaks, but I'm going to make them methodical. So I'm not going to waste time on the transitions. I liked where you said that, like row at a pace that you can get off the rower and go grab the barbell. And then at the same time, do sets on the barbell that you can go straight from the barbell, grab your rope and get your first set. So I think it's a really cool opportunity for, let's say, all of us that are not this is not you because you are the elite, but the rest of us that are not the elite CrossFitter, learning how to strategize and move efficiently with multiple movement patterns happening at once.
Yeah. I would say like the words that come to mind are recoverable and repeatable on your sets, right? Like you said, if deadlifts, it's 3, 3, 2, 2, or whatever your sets are, but something that is easily recoverable and easily repeatable, I think would be really good on the deadlift and the jump rope. And then of course, then once you're on the rower, I always tell people, sit down on the rower and start pulling. Even if you're pulling at a 3-minute pace, you're making reps.
Yep.
So don't futz around on the rower or rest before you get on the rower. Put your feet in and start pulling. Again, if you're pulling even at a 3:30, you're making repetitions and it's worth it.
No,
Yeah, oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I love that because it's one of the things that drives me crazy when people are they have a row in a workout is they sit down on the rower and they've got to have their feet like super strapped in. It's like they don't need to be super tight. Just have your you're going to be going through so many transitions on the rower. Have your foot pedals and the strap set to a point where you can slide your feet in and there's a little bit of tension and you can slide them out. You don't have to deal with anything with your hands there. And to your point, you don't even need to have both feet in there yet to start pulling. Sit down, just start pulling and get your feet set. And one of our biggest things that we talk about with our rowing coach at camp is to get the row started, you need to start with a full pull. None of this short, choppy pull. One full pull, and then maybe a half pull, and then you're right into your cadence. And that's how you get the flywheel going the fastest. And on a workout where you're going to have anywhere between, 6 to 10 transitions on the rower, that's going to add up if you're not efficient there.
Yeah.
Annie, I've got a question. This is going to lead into some stuff we're going to actually talk about throughout the Power Monkey channels the next few weeks. I'm not sure when Jordan's got it set up, but on the deadlift, what are you recommending for your athletes, members? Mixed grip, double overhand, hook grip, open grip. What are your thoughts there? I'm curious.
Considering that you're coming off the row, so that's going to be a little bit taxing on the grip. I am a big fan of the mixed grip. For me, it just really saves my grip. I try to do a lot of overhand, which I end up hook gripping
Hmm.
just because I have small hands and that's more comfortable for me, to be honest. Um, when I'm not doing a workout, I tend to try to do as much overhand as I can. And that's so that the effect of that mixed grip is even that much better once I'm in a workout. I feel like it really packs a better punch when I get to actually mix my grip. So I would personally mix the grip, especially if you're comfortable with doing it.
All right. Well, we're
Again,
gonna.
you think about you're squeezing the rower handle and you're squeezing the jump rope or you're holding the jump rope. So there's a lot of grip, a lot of points where you can fatigue your grip in this workout.
No, I like. I mean, you overruled Jordan and I. This is another thing we were talking about before. We're both overhand grippers, but the thought that I have from you saying that is whatever, when you're listening now, if you're not sure, just have a plan, and kind of start with that. So if you're comfortable with the mixed grip, then do it, and maybe don't let somebody talk you out of it last minute, or vice versa. If you've been doing most of your deadlifts hook grip, be confident with it and just grab it hook grip, because I'm thinking, me personally, thankfully, from Rika and Lindsay at our row station, I know that when I row, I don't death grip. So I'm gripping, but I have a nice relaxed grip. So I shouldn't be too fatigued from the row, especially early on. That should be like a nice pace that I can go over and hook grip the barbell and feel good. And then I can go grab my RX Smart Gear rope that fits my hand perfectly. And I can have a nice, like, firm but relaxed grip on that as well. So I'm hopeful that a lot of the community out there does not get like mega grip fatigue on this workout, but they're really able to manage it just based off of, again, having good technical application of how to use each instrument within the workout.
Um, Annie, I have one more question about the row for you. You talked about the pacing on the row being something that is not overly taxing, so you can get right off the row, right to the barbell. For people who have done a number of the other CrossFit benchmark workouts that might have rowing in it, like a Jackie, for instance, what would you say should the pace on this be similar to like your Jackie pace, or because that's a longer 1,000 meter? Like, how would you, if for people that have more familiarity with these workouts, what would you like stack it up against?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's gonna determine that is probably how good you are at repping out deadlifts, or kind of a moderate weight deadlift, and then how good you are at double unders. Because if those areas are strong for you, then I personally would probably be a little bit quicker on the row pace. If 10 deadlifts at 125 isn't a horrible challenge, then I think you could probably be a bit quicker on that row pace. If, on the other hand, 10 deadlifts at that weight is pretty taxing, then I would definitely be at Jackie pace, maybe even a little bit slower. Again, just so that when you get off that rower, you feel very comfortable on that barbell. I really like touch and go deadlifts. For me, they're actually much easier. For some people that just messes them up. But I think that, your heart rate can't be sky high when you hit that barbell, because no matter what, 10 deadlifts at a moderate weight is going to jack your heart rate up.
Hmm.
I mean, for most of us lay people, 10 deadlifts, especially 2, 3, 4 rounds, is going to spike your heart rate. And 50 double unders is not going to bring it down. So I think your one chance to kind of maybe recover your heart rate for a lot of your regular CrossFitters is going to be on the rower.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to have to slow down that pace. Yeah, maybe Jackie pace, maybe even a smidge slower, just depending.
Yeah, no, I like that advice. And like you said, Jordan, for people that are, maybe a little bit more familiar with some of the benchmarks and understanding, just confirming what a good pace is for you to be able to hit the other pieces. And if you didn't watch the two athletes that just went, I mean, they were pushing more towards like a 500 repeat time of probably what they're hitting on like a 80% 500 repeat time, which is fast for them. So if somebody just watched Justin or Colton pulling like 140 to 145, like that's not a pool for most guys out there to be trying to do, and then still be able to go over and hit the other pieces efficiently. So, again, I think this is, like you said, Annie, the first two workouts for the open are cool because they give people an opportunity to really test where they're at. Ideally be able to get an opportunity to RX. And then, last week was a chance to see what it feels like to sprint and see how far you can sprint for. And then this one is definitely, there's no sprinting. This reminds me of like almost like an 800-meter run or something like that, where like you're moving, but if you sprint, you're going to die and it's going to be really bad. But if you find that pace and you can kind of start strong, settle in, finish strong, whatever that is for you, it's going to be a good workout for you.
And I'm going to make Dave really happy right now. Dave Newman really happy right now. But I've actually trained our classes on this. We practice this a lot of times in warm up. The toe catch and the lay down on the double unders, I think, is critical. And even if you don't know how to toe catch, if you know how to toe catch, you're a ninja, and I think it's really useful. Even if you don't know how to toe catch, how you put your jump rope down is so critical when there's this many times that you're going to be picking it back up. Even 4 or 5 rounds, that's a lot of time if you are unknotting your jump rope over and over. And one of my pet peeves is watching people throw the jump rope down when they're done with a round. And I think even the act of setting it down for me actually calms me down a little bit.
Yeah.
Something about just gently placing that jump rope on the ground that helps me kind of stay grounded myself. So I'm going to say that's a big one on this workout is toe catch if you can do it, but no matter what, setting those handles down thoughtfully every round.
Yeah, I like that. And I know I want to let Jordan get in here to ask a couple more questions before we let you get out of here. But just to keep like kind of pounding in these reminders to everybody listening, like it's the small details that make up a lot of ground, especially in a 20-minute workout. So like, don't rest in between transitions, get going, set your jump rope down, like that 2 to 3 seconds that you're like calming yourself and setting it down so that it's there and you don't have to search for it or unwind it. Like you just said, over the course of the 20 minutes, like that might get you another round. That might get you a lot more reps. And, when we have, how many hundreds of thousands of people that are going to be doing this workout, like that can move you around a lot. So a lot of you that are out there too, I think a lot of our listeners are, wanting to get into quarterfinals from this. Be smart and be tactical in this workout and do the little things that you can control, like the technique. The technique matters. Like we preach it all the time. And even in a workout like this that, doesn't have the gymnastics component or, a snatch or a clean and jerk, there's still a lot of technique to go into it.
Yeah. Last 2 questions for you, Annie, at least from me. The first one is, what do you think you're going to get on this?
11 rounds. No.
11? Oh my good golly.
Yeah.
Annie's calling them out.
Not even. That's a great question. I'd love to think that I could hold, what were they? They were like a minute 45.
They were.
You mean on
They
the
pretty
rower or for the
consistently,
round?
right?
For the round, you mean?
They
Yeah, exactly.
They started minute 45, but they slowed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and we were talking about this, Sean and I were talking about this, the trap is always like you watch Adler and Alexis and all those guys do that workout in 6 and change. And you're like, okay, like add 2.5 minutes. And that's probably me. And then all of a sudden you're in the 9s and you get time capped and you're like, okay, add like 10 minutes and maybe that's me, And so again, this is one where like you watch those guys and they didn't look like they were moving at some crazy pace. And so you're like, okay, take off like 3 rounds and that's probably me, right? And then you get into the workout and you're like, okay, take off like 5 rounds and that's probably me. So if I was able to hold like maybe a 230, 240 pace for each round, just off the top of my head, that would probably be pretty good.
I like that. Yeah, I would say if you're feeling good about yourself and you're out there, like treat this like a every 3 minutes on the minute type of round.
It's not a bad way to go about doing it, honestly.
No, and then if you did it and it was
tomorrow.
Yeah, if you did it and it was too easy and then you want to pick up the pace on Monday and redo it, then go for it. But like yeah, don't go out too hot.
The one devil's advocate thing that I'm going to say is 300 meters is very different than 500 meters. So, not to say that people should go out hot or that they should be too hot on that, but luckily that 300, I think is not such a big chunk on the meters that for us shorties, it's
Mhm.
really cost us a lot. You know what I mean? Like if that was 500-meter repeats, I think I would really have to adjust my expectations a little bit
Mhm.
more. But at 300 meters, you're talking maybe for the higher level athletes, 10, 20, 10, 15 seconds longer maybe than Justin and Colton and still being fairly comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't
Hmm.
I'm
that
gonna
could be a naive
no,
guesstimate.
no, I'm gonna concur with you on that one, Annie, too, especially as a fellow stumpy femored athlete. Like 250 is like my sweet spot. I feel really comfortable there. So, the 300 maybe is pushing it for me a little, but it looks a heck of a lot better than 500 meters to start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So last week and this week we had a number of movements that weren't very high skill. I mean, the double under a little bit, but 1 week left. Do you have any predictions? Everything's skill based. Like, what's going on?
I think I really think that Dave and Adrian and CrossFit in general is doing a great job at making these open workouts really accessible to the general population. And as an affiliate owner, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Not just in that like the setup isn't this elaborate setup, because that's hard as an affiliate
Hmm.
owner. Say you have 25, 40, 50 people that are doing the open in your gym. It's a lot of work. And it can be very disruptive to the rest of your population that might not be doing the open. So the fact that these first two workouts have been not a ton of equipment, not a ton of setup, I'm really thankful for. There's people out there that could like complain, like, well, it should be more technical and, you're not weeding out, but go look at the leaderboard. It is still the fittest people are on the top of the leaderboard, and it not being technical movements doesn't take out the best of the best because they still are the fittest. Maybe Tia's not in first, but she's not in last because it wasn't technical, right? Maybe Justin got 124th, but it's not that's still going to be the top 25%. Nobody is not going to qualify for quarterfinals that shouldn't, because there wasn't technical movements in the open. I think that the fittest of the ones who should make it to quarterfinals are still going to make it to quarterfinals, even if there's not technical movements. So third week, maybe there's something slightly more technical, like on the pull-up bar. We haven't seen that yet. It would be great if it was something where there's different stages until you get to that. And so there's still a lot of people that can stay in this RX. And honestly, I think that HQ or Dave and Adrian might choose to kind of go that route. I think that's really smart on their part, because it keeps people engaged and excited about the open instead of feeling discouraged and like, look at all the things I can't do. People are going to be thinking, look at all the things I can do.
100%.
Yeah. So I like it. I think my guess is that's really kind of what they're trying to do at this point, and I think it's really smart.
Yeah, I think you got it there, Annie. And the Open, especially the way that the season shakes up now, like the Open really is this community moment where everybody can do it. And the quarterfinals allows for so many people to come in. Yeah, you're nobody's missing out on that because, like you said, with skill. So I like that it's good for affiliate owners. It allows people to want to participate because they're not like, oh, there's going to be muscle ups and I don't have a muscle up, so why should I even do the Open? So you're not scaring people away from it. It's not offering those like maybe cringe moments in the past where then every viral video of, people just doing atrocious skills that they weren't ready for. Like I like it on so many levels. It's safer. It's a little bit more palatable. It's easier for gym owners. So it's not a headache for you. We're like, oh, great. Now we've got 5 weeks of this, crap to try and sort out for our community. And at the end of the day, the people that are fit are the people that are fit, and they're going to be up there. So I think we're having a good season so far. So we're incredibly thankful that you took the time to join us here and just get our community some thoughts on the Open from one of the OGs of the sport that we love dearly, and of course that we hope will maybe make some time in the fall to come back out to camp and hang out with us.
You know it. My kids are begging to come back, so
All right, no
I am
pressure.
too.
All right, great. Yeah, well, and we need to make sure Jake comes out too.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, that's like for me, if Jake doesn't come, then you stay home. All right.
There's a really good surfing on the lake there. He'll be totally happy.
You know what?
Yeah.
He really got into kite surfing during
Cool.
COVID, so maybe he'll just bring a kite with him.
I
Perfect.
think we can get BJ to hook something up where we've got enough of a wind tunnel to do some kite surfing on the
Perfect.
lake. Oh,
Perfect.
amazing. All right. Well, Annie, thank you a million for coming onto the podcast. And for our listeners, this is the end of the show. So I hope you're all very motivated to go out, test yourself a little bit, find a strategy, stick to it, believe in yourself. We're wishing you luck. Jordan and I are also going to jump on the rower and see what we've got. But until then, if you want to check us out and see what's going on in our community, in our calendar, www.powermonkeyfitness.com. You can go onto our events calendar, see what's going on, check out our training app as we are continuing to develop that to meet your needs for skill development. And in the meantime, we'll be here and waiting to talk to you again next week.